Hi, and welcome to the Mile High Youth Corps Virtual Job Fair. I'm Danae, and I use she, they pronouns, and I am in the Southern Front Range.
And I'm Mel. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm in Denver, and we are the alumni mentors.
And we are also your hosts for tonight's job fair. Tonight's job fair will include interviews from current staff, alumni from our program, and future leaders. So first we'll have an introduction to Mile High Youth Corps. After that, we will have an info session on our land conservation program. And following that info session, we will have various interviews about our projects, alumni experiences, and kind of like what they're excited for. And yeah, Mel will tell you more information about where and how to apply.
Yeah, so if you are inclined to apply at any time during the job fair or beyond, you can apply to any position on our Apply Now page, which will be in the chat and will also be in the description. So our first speaker for today is Jesse, who is our senior manager for the land conservation program. Jesse will be giving you an intro to the Mile High Youth Corps. Welcome, Jesse.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, really excited to be here. So again, my name is Jesse Ream. I am the senior manager of the land conservation program. I use he, him, his pronouns. And I've worked for the Corps for about 10 years now. Which is pretty crazy to think about. I just celebrated that anniversary a few weeks ago, which is really cool for me. So I started as a Corps member at Mile High Youth Corps for 2 years, and then I transitioned onto our staff in 2013. And I coordinated our land projects out of the Denver office for several years. And then in 2017, I transitioned to managing the whole program across our service sites in Denver and Colorado Springs. Yeah, and I would just say, just briefly, like, it's super cool to come full circle and to play like a really, a lead role in helping, manage this, managing the program that gave me my start. So yeah, I'm going to share a little bit more about kind of big picture what Mile High Youth Corps is before you get into the nitty gritty of the land conservation program later in this program. So Mile High Youth Corps is 28 years old. We were founded as a nonprofit organization under a different name, actually. We started as Year One Incorporated. And pretty humble beginnings. We started in the basement of a church that I think was in a lower downtown Denver. We were founded by Josie Heath, who's actually pretty famous. I'd encourage you to look her up. She went on to have a really long career in public service. And was actually inducted into the Colorado Women's Hall of Fame. She's kind of best known for running for U.S. Senate in 1990. So yeah, founded by Josie. One of Josie's first employees was actually Kelly Causey, who was a crew leader. Kelly went on to be CEO of Mile High Youth Corps for 18 years. Yeah, so those were kind of how we got our start. The very first cruise at Year One Incorporated focused on urban beautification projects. They worked in places like City Park or Civic Center Park in Denver, planting flowers, mulching, doing things like that. And the idea was that this service experience was kind of year one of the rest of your life. So really a transformative experience that kind of puts you on a new path. So we later transitioned to Mile High Youth Corps, which was a name that just made a little bit more sense for us, anchoring us within the larger Youth Corps movement. I just wanted to highlight kind of one other big moment in our history. So in 2008, we merged with a corps in Colorado Springs called Colorado Legends and Legacies. So Mile High Youth Corps and Legends and Legacies merged together. And that allowed Mile High Youth Corps to expand our service area beyond the Denver metro area. And we now cover 23 counties in Colorado. So from Denver south to the New Mexico border, and then also out east to the Kansas border. So Mile High Youth Corps has headquarters in Denver and in Colorado Springs. Yeah, so that kind of showed, just a little bit of history of Mile High there. One other thing that a big thing I'd share is, we got our start with those urban beautification projects, but we've expanded a lot over the years. And we now have 4 different career pathways. So again, one of them is land conservation, which you're going to learn a lot about in the rest of this program, but I want to touch on the other programs that make Mile High Youth Corps what it is. So we have an energy and water conservation program. Corps members in that program go into single family homes and also multifamily units. So think like apartment complexes, and they install energy and water saving measures. So things like thermostats, light bulbs, shower heads, aerators that fit onto your sinks. And the idea is that by installing these things, we're reducing the amount of energy and water that is being used. So saving those natural resources while at the same time reducing the bills of the clients that we serve. So a super cool program. In our second career pathway. Our third and fourth career pathways are part of a program called Youth Build. So that program is specifically for Corps members that are interested in earning their high school equivalency. So most of those folks have dropped out of high school for one reason or another, and they are working towards that that equivalency. So the equivalent of a graduation diploma. And in addition to earning that, they are also earning skills in either construction or health and wellness. So those are our third and fourth career pathways. So folks in the construction program are building low-income housing in the Denver area, typically with Denver Housing Authority. And then folks in our health and wellness program, those Corps members are working towards their nurse's aid certificate, and they are getting experience in the healthcare industry, working in a hospital setting. So that gives you a sense of kind of the breadth of our programs. So started kind of those humble beginnings, but have expanded to do a number of other things. The one thing that there's a few things that tie all of those young adults in our various programs together. So the first is that everyone that works for Mile High serves on crews. So no one's working kind of in isolation. They're working with a larger group of 8 to 10 people. And so there's a big teamwork component of what we do. The other thing is that young adults in our programs are all 17 to 24 years old. So young adults that are kind of, maybe are still enrolled in high school or post high school. And then all of those folks are enrolled in AmeriCorps. So AmeriCorps is a national service program. A lot of people have heard of the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps is a program where folks from the U.S. go abroad to do service in low-income communities across the world. The domestic equivalent of that is AmeriCorps. And Mile High Youth Corps is a state and national AmeriCorps program. So just want to note that there are other corps in the state of Colorado and other corps across the country that are also state and national programs. So I just want to shout out a couple of our sister corps. So a few examples are Western Colorado Conservation Corps, based in Grand Junction, and Rocky Mountain Youth Corps in Steamboat Springs. Those are just a few examples of some other corps in the state, but the corps are all across the country. So all of the young adults that work for Mile High Youth Corps are known as corps members. So that's a term that you'll hear a lot. It's a little bit strange. Some folks are always like, what is a corps member? A corps member is just somebody that is a member of an AmeriCorps program. And folks that serve with us in those AmeriCorps positions, those positions last anywhere from 3 months to a full year. And so I think that gives you some context for what Mile High Youth Corps is all about. I think Danae and Mel are going to come back on here. We'll see if they have any questions that have come up.
Yeah, so I'll open the floor to any questions. So the first one we have is pretty philosophical. So is it times that you are far outside of your element that you experience yourself the most?
Wow, I wonder who asked that. That's a great question. Can you say it one more time?
So is it times that you are far outside of your element that you experience yourself the most?
Yeah, I think that, in the sense that like you experience yourself the most, that to me, like that, I think of growth. And I think when you push yourself beyond your comfort zone, that's when the most growth happens. So the one thing I'd highlight when it comes to the land conservation program, but Mile High Youth Corps more generally, is just that no experience is necessary for our programs. So this is really for anybody in our age range that's interested in having an experience that maybe is in an area, a field that's totally new to them. Maybe you've never worked outside before. Maybe you don't have a lot of experience, maybe hiking on trails or camping, doing things like that. This is an opportunity to step outside of that comfort zone, do something you've never done before, learn some new skills, make some new friends, and earn a scholarship once you finish with us. I think there's a lot of benefits, but yeah, I think that's a great question.
Yeah, I agree. And the next question is, what has been your favorite part about working at Mile High Youth Corps?
Yeah, that's a question I get asked a lot, and I think it changes. It's changed over the years. I think initially I wanted that kind of grassroots service experience. Like I really wanted to give back to my community, and I really wanted to help the environment, and that's what drew me in. And we've done some really cool things over the years, like we added a wildland firefighting program, some things that are really exciting and just like keep my day-to-day really fresh. But the biggest reason I'm still here is the people. The folks that you're going to hear from this evening, my coworkers are all amazing folks, but I also just love getting to know the Corps members that come through our doors, and hearing their stories and seeing them grow and seeing them go on to do amazing things. We've got folks that are fighting wildfires all across the West. We've got folks that are building trails all around the United States. And we also have a lot of folks that are working for, organizations like the U.S. Forest Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife here in the state of Colorado, and are continuing to give back to these communities that we serve in as an organization. So, yeah, it's all about the people for me.
And so the next question we have is from Allie in the Facebook chat. Why did you choose to work with a conservation corps?
Yeah, so I kind of touched on that kind of grassroots service experience. I grew up in a rural area, and I spent a lot of time outside growing up with my brother. And I mean like playing in the creek, and, doing stuff kind of around our house. And then as I got older, I started to enjoy the outdoors in different ways. Doing a lot of hiking with my dad and my brother, and then eventually getting into some kind of like camping and backpacking. But in general, like I just love being outside, and I love recreating in the outdoors. And I feel like I'm my best self when I'm in those settings. And so that's what drew me to conservation corps, right? Is that opportunity to spend a lot of time outdoors doing really meaningful work. And I still remember, some of my very early projects at Mile High were building a rock wall. It was like a 5-tier rock wall, huge rock wall, right, along a path in Dedeese Park, which is like just outside of Evergreen, Colorado. And that rock wall is going to be there for hundreds of years. Like that's not going anywhere. And thousands of people are going to hike that trail. And so to be a part of their user experience is powerful. I got to do something with my hands that is going to be there for generations. And that's kind of what drew me in.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Same for me. And so it looks like this will be our last question, but Jesse, what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, I am pretty office bound now, unfortunately. I still try and get out in the field as much as I can, but that's changed over the years. I think my day-to-day, it looks a little different as we move throughout the course of the year. So right now it's a lot of planning, a lot of prep work before we bring folks on. And then once we get into the summer, it's helping with our trainings, helping lead orientations. But still learning something new every day, I think, which helps keep things really fresh and keeps me motivated to just keep kind of pushing the status quo.
Awesome. Well, it's about time to wrap up, but thank you for your time today. And so next we'll be moving on to Catherine and Emily, who will talk about our land conservation program.
Hello! We did not have audio. We did not have audio for a second there, and we apologize to anybody watching in the chat, but technology can be hard from time to time. Hi, my name is Emily Holmes. I am the program coordinator in Colorado Springs.
We still can't hear you. And hello, my name is Catherine Ehrenberg. I am the program coordinator in the Denver Land office.
Great. We are so excited to do kind of a deeper dive into what our land conservation program is. Jesse gave you that really broad picture of what Mile High Youth Corps is as an organization, but we're going to talk about what everyday life looks like for our Corps members out in the field.
Yes. So, if you've ever wanted a job where you can be different, where you're excited to go to work every day, you want to do something that benefits your community, you want to be outdoors every day, and you want to make friends that last a lifetime, you should come join us. Mile High Youth Corps is a perfect opportunity for this. It makes a triple impact on you, the community, and the environment.
Where do we serve? You know, who, what, where, when, why? Where do we serve? We serve 23 counties across the southeastern corner of Colorado. So this light blue area that you can see on your screen right now is our service area. And we have two headquarters, as Jesse mentioned, one in Denver where the orange circle is, and one in Colorado Springs where the other orange circle is. But you can also see that we are not the only youth corps in Colorado. Together with all of these 8 accredited youth corps, we are the Colorado Youth Corps Association that all work together to secure AmeriCorps funding and do amazing conservation work across the state of Colorado.
So who serves with us? Here at Mile High for the Land Conservation Program, folks between the ages of 18 to 24 from all life experiences, from all work experiences, come join us. So a couple requirements as a part of the Land Conservation Program is folks do need to have their high school or GED equivalent or be enrolled in their program to obtain that certification. And so in addition to that, we need folks to have their U.S. citizenship or national or lawful permanent resident documentation. And so that's just part of being a part of the AmeriCorps program. And we'll just talk through that whenever we're getting on to our hiring processes. But some of the big stuff for us is just the ability to be on time when you're coming to work, maintaining that consistent attendance throughout your term, and fully committing to your time with us. So what do we do every day? So when you're out here with us, either at Denver or at the Southern Front Range in Colorado Springs, you are serving, like Jesse and Emily both mentioned, all throughout the counties. So we've got those 23 different counties. And while you're working out in those areas, you're going to be working on a crew of up to 9 other young individuals. So you're going to be working with those 9 folks every single day, building that close-knit community and working in that common theme of passion for service. And throughout the time, you'll be doing those long days in the field of physical labor, but we'll also want to equip you with not only these hard skills, but those soft skills too. So you'll participate in 4 hours per week of educational activities, and those cover a bunch of different things, including environmental stewardship, civic engagement, healthy living, leadership, career development, and social justice.
But what is land conservation? We have said a lot of times that we are the land conservation program and that our members serve on land conservation crews, but that is kind of a big umbrella concept that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So for us, land conservation means trails, habitat restoration, park development, and fire mitigation. And here you can see some lovely examples of some of our crews posing out in the field. As we go through this, you're going to see examples of project work that we've really done all across the 23 counties that we serve. When we talk about trails, we do a lot of different work when it comes to trails. We do new trail construction, which, we've done some really high profile trails. We've been lucky enough to serve on some really highly used trails across the Front Range. We do trail maintenance, so that could be as simple as moving things that people could trip over out of the trail, or creating things like rock and timber structures to prevent erosion. You can see in some of these pictures that they're installing those rock and timber structures, and we do that to keep water off the trail and people on the trail. The second thing that we do is habitat restoration. A lot of the habitat restoration we do has to do with invasive species. Now, invasive species are species that are non-native. They did not come from the area that they are in now, and they're harmful to the other species around them. So a good example of this is a tree called a Russian olive. If you've ever served with Mile High Youth Corps before, you have probably heard about Russian olives. Russian olive tree can drink up to 70 gallons of water a day. And Russian olives are not native to Colorado. I think it's probably obvious why. Colorado does not have a lot of water. But this tree, this Russian olive tree, came to Colorado and it flourished here. It's so aggressive and invasive that it took over the areas where waterways are. But because it drinks so much water, the native plants in that area cannot survive, cannot compete for water, and honestly Russian olives end up drinking so much water that small creeks and tributaries in local communities get dried up. So a lot of what we do is taking out invasive species, whether they be trees or small plants or bushes. We do that. We also do some pesticide application, which is a valuable land management tool for managing these invasive species. And we do some native planting in places where we've removed plants. Park development. This is probably the biggest umbrella term within the umbrella term of land conservation. It could mean a lot of things at a lot of different parks, but in order to make the recreation areas and open spaces and parks that you go to ecologically sound and also just enjoyable experience for you, we do things like install signs, paint and stain things, plant around visitor center. You'll see one of the pictures here, we're repairing a roof on a historic structure at a national park near us, a national monument actually near us. So it could be a lot of things under park development, but think everything under park development has to do with that user experience at a natural space. And here's the last category of land conservation that we work in. We do fire mitigation. As you know, Colorado and the entire West has seen catastrophic wildfires over the last couple decades, and what our Corps members do is they go in before a fire, so years and years before a fire, usually in areas where it's been determined that the forest is too thick and has too much fuel in it, and take out some of the fuel so that if a fire did come to that area, the fire would not be as big or catastrophic and would actually be more healthy for the area, allowing it to come back to its natural self sooner after a fire. We also have done quite a bit of post-fire erosion control, which is long after a fire, where we make sure that the soil that no longer has plants in it after a fire isn't turning into landslides.
Awesome, thanks Emily. So that's a great overview of all the different ways that we do land conservation work here at Mile High. So if that's getting you excited and you're like, I want to get involved, how can I do that? We've got 4 different programs that go on throughout the year. So our first program that's going on right now that we're hiring for is our Land Conservation Leaders Program. So this program is our longest program that we offer, and it's a great opportunity for folks who have a little bit of a leadership experience or experience working in the outdoors. We want to grow in their leadership skills and do a little bit more hands-on leading of other crews in the field. So this consists of 7 weeks of training, and then you're ready to go as a crew leader, and you'll lead some crews to the rest of the summer and also the fall. So that's our first program we've got. We've got our summer service program that's great for folks who are only available between that May and August timeline. And this is a great opportunity for someone who's had no experience but really wants to get their foot in the door of seeing what it's like to do some land conservation work. And Then we have our fall forestry program that is a window between August and October. And a lot of folks will start with us for the summer in service and actually continue on in the fall as well. But other folks just come on in starting for fall forestry, and it's same idea. If you've never done any land conservation work, but you want to get some hands-on experience, this is a great opportunity. And then the last program we've got on here is the winter fire crew. So this one, you will need one term with Mile High under your belt in order to apply for this program. But this is an amazing opportunity if you're at all interested in wildland firefighting. And we have actually launched a new program that will start this summer, which will be the summer fire crew, which will be a lot of individuals who are continuing on from our winter fire crew. So those are all the different programs we have to offer. So to re-highlight some of the ones we're hiring now, we've got the Land Conservation Leader Program that starts here shortly at the end of this month. And then we've got our Summer Service Program that starts in May. So we've got 2 start dates there, May 10th or May 24th. So both are up on our website. You can apply through our website. We'll talk more about that soon. And then we're also hiring for a separate one that Emily will highlight here shortly, which is the Trail Strike Team. Similar timeline, it's got that May 10th start date, and Emily will provide more soon. So if you're working with us, what do you get? There's a lot of different things. While you're working with us, everyone earns a biweekly living stipend. You can see that on the screen. There's different rates depending on which role you come in at. While you're serving with us, in addition to that biweekly stipend, if you fully complete your AmeriCorps program or your term with us and you earn all your hours, you'll receive an AmeriCorps Education Award. This education award varies, again, based on which term you serve, but it's a pretty amazing award where it can go to loans that you had, student loans you had, it can go to future tuition, and we also have a database of a bunch of different opportunities that you could apply this education award towards. So in addition to those 2 things, we've got a lot of other opportunities going on. So you'll receive that hands-on technical training, you'll receive education, you'll get mentorship throughout your term with us, valuable certifications, such as first aid and CPR for some folks, and you get that direct experience in the natural resources field. So we want to make sure that you are fully supported, though, when you're in this program. So some of the other things we have available to all of our core members to make sure that you're taken care of fully are the mental health counseling that we offer. So anyone who joins our program, you have access to mental health counseling through us. That's free, up to 5 sessions. We have a food bank on site that folks can get access to whenever they need it. We offer career readiness training. We have access to health insurance for folks who have been working with us for 60 days. And there's a little bit that the core member will have to pay into, but Mile High also pays into it, so it's still a great opportunity there. And lastly, student loan forbearance is an option as well.
So that last slide had a lot of great, valuable things that Mile High Youth Corps can provide for you if you are 18 to 24 and you're interested in land conservation. But I think that this slide right here is truly the most valuable thing about our program. It's how closely we work with these amazing partners. So if you're on a land conservation crew, you're working day in and day out next to people from the National Park Service, from Colorado Parks and Wildlife that manage our state parks, or from somebody from the Forest Service. We also work with local park and rec agencies, like you'll see at the bottom, El Paso County Parks and Rec and the City of Colorado Springs Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services. And we work with so many other partners. And that's a real huge boost when you're looking for a job in natural resources, or if you're just interested in natural resources. These are the people that have careers in this field and can answer your questions and can show you opportunities that you might not otherwise know about. Many of our core members go on to work with these organizations, and I think that we value our partners so much. You'll hear a little more about our partners later when you hear from our associate managers, and I'm sure they'll have lovely things to say about our partners as well. So, in order to do this work, there's so many different types of land conservation, and there's so many partners, and there's so many sites, and it can feel like a really big thing. But what we do is we have specialized crews that do specific types of work or are made up of specific identities. And that way, that crew can focus on doing what they do best. We're going to go through some of these types of crews, but don't worry if you don't know what type of crew you would like to be part of. You can express a preference for a type of crew, or you can just be open to any experience, and we would likely place you on a crew that we think would fit your what you need. So first up is a Sawyer crew. A lot of people don't know what a Sawyer is, but I like to say a lawyer works with law and a Sawyer works with saws. And so a Sawyer crew is a crew that works almost exclusively with chainsaws. We provide these corps members on the Sawyer crews a 1-week S212 wildland firefighter training. That doesn't mean that you'd be ready to go out and fight fires right away, but it's one of the very first building blocks in a set of trainings that build up to a wildland firefighter red card. So we provide them with that training, and once they have it, they take their chainsaws out to the field and they do things like invasive species removal, hazardous fuel reductions, and corridor clearing for brand new trails. Obviously, you can't put a trail through a tree. This crew might work with pesticides because often when we're doing invasive species removal, the most effective way to remove those species is to cut them down and then apply pesticides to make sure that they don't come back. Then there's a hand crew. A hand crew is kind of another one of those umbrella terms that encompasses a lot of different things, but essentially they work with hand tools like shovels, rakes, and picks. Other hand tools. All hand crews receive 1 week of trail training with the Outdoor Stewardship Institute curriculum, and they work on a variety of different projects, but probably most of them are trail construction or maintenance projects, doing things with rock and timber structures on trails, and some fencing projects. Fencing is a very valuable land management tool for managing humans and wildlife.
Awesome. So in addition to that, you've got these 2 specialized crews. We've also got some affinity crews that you can opt to be on if you're interested. So the first crew I'll talk about is the BIPOC affinity crew. So this is for young adults who identify as Black, Indigenous, or a person of color. And so the idea here is that we want to create a space fostered for people to really share their stories, discuss common challenges, innovate solutions to common problems, and just explore the field of natural resources in a safe and safe environment. And so this will be our first year launching this BIPOC affinity crew, and we're super excited about this. But again, like I mentioned, this is something that you can opt into if you're interested in it, and this is something that you express in the hiring process. Just like you'd be saying, I'm interested in the hand crew or the saw crew. And depending on which location you're at, Denver or SFR, that'll determine if you're on a saw crew or a hand crew as well. There's some variance there. In addition to the BIPOC affinity crew, we've also got the gender spectrum affinity crew. So this crew is for young adults who identify as cisgender women, transgender, or gender nonconforming. And this same idea here, we want to create a space where you feel safe and welcome. And this is just one way to do it on this crew, in addition to Mile High as a whole. So the goal here is to break down some of those barriers that have prevented the natural resources field from being diverse and inclusive, just like with our BIPOC affinity crew. And so we believe that creating this opportunity is just one great step in the direction of making natural resources a more inclusive and diverse field. And so same with this crew. If you're interested in the gender spectrum affinity crew, you can just express that you want to be on that crew, and we'll talk through what different specific skill you'll be working on, whether that's hand or saw. So here in Denver, we actually have one additional specialized crew, and that's our Sheridan crew. So this is, like I just said, only in Sheridan, or only in Denver. But what we do is 1 week of trail training with the Outdoor Stewardship Institute. And what you'll be working on is primarily project sites in the city of Sheridan and surrounding communities. And we strongly encourage folks who are from the Sheridan community and surrounding communities to apply for this crew. And again, just let us know in the hiring process.
A pesticide crew. I mentioned pesticides briefly before, but here in Colorado Springs, in the surrounding areas, there's a high need on our natural and public spaces to use pesticides in a way that is ecologically responsible, and that's what we do. So only in Colorado Springs do we have an opportunity for a crew that specializes in pesticide application right now, although both sites have had them at different times. And those corps members receive 1 week of technician training from become qualified supervisors, and they mainly do invasive species removal. This year, because we needed to fill out their season a little bit, they'll also be doing a little bit of fencing. So if you're looking for some specialized skills like pesticide and fencing, that might be the crew for you. Again, only in our Colorado Springs location. And this is our last crew, and you did hear us mention this before when we were talking about what we're hiring for right now. It's called the Trail Strike Team, and it is a crew just like any of our other crews in some ways, and special in some ways. So instead of being just a summer term or just a fall term, it is a combined summer and fall term that starts on May 10th and goes through November 5th. And the reason that it is a combined term is because the Forest Service and the National Forest Foundation and the VF Foundation wanted one crew to get trained to expand access across the Front Range on Forest Service lands. They wanted to work with one crew and really create that amazing bond that happens after you've been working together for a long period of time. So this crew is a hybrid crew, actually. There are a few sawyers and a few hands so that some people can be clearing large down trees or clearing corridor for new trail, while other people are working on rock and timber structures behind them. And they work exclusively with the Forest Service on the Arapahoe, Pike, and San Isabel National Forests. They are kind of an intense they have a very intense project schedule where they camp for 9 days at a time, and we're going to talk more about that in just a minute. But I would highly recommend this if you are just ready to get into something intense with a little bit of commitment to it, or if you're looking for a career within the Forest Service, because these people will work directly with Forest Service employees across multiple ranger districts during their term. So I said I was going to talk about this in a minute, and I am here at my favorite part of our Colorado Springs program. So in Denver, the project work is mainly within an hour's drive of the headquarters of Denver. If you remember that map all the way back at the beginning, Denver serves the Denver metro community, and that is a very close geographic community with a ton of public land and outdoor spaces to work on. In Colorado Springs, we have a ton of public land and outdoor spaces, but they tend to be much more spread out. Some of our projects out of the Colorado Springs location are up to 3 hours away from us, or even like 3.5 hours away from us, and it does not make sense for us to transport our corps members and our crews every day to a project 3.5 hours away. So instead, out of our Colorado Springs location, we camp at the project sites. Again, this is my favorite part of our program down here. So if you are interested in camping, even if you've never been camping before, I'd encourage you to check out our Colorado Springs location. Some of the great parts of camping at a project site is that all the food is paid for on trail. So your crew eats together, cooks together, cleans together, eats together, plans your food together, grocery shops together, and does the whole thing over again. There's a lot of team bonding and educational activities. As you'll see at the bottom there, as you can see at the bottom there's a lot of people just sitting around in camp chairs and having a good time. Our crew leaders are really focused on safety when you're camping. All of them have ways to contact emergency services regardless of if they're in cell range or not, and all of them have gone through the wilderness first aid curriculum. And also, corps members can check out gear from our fantastic gear library if they need anything. We have top of the line REI tents, we have down sleeping bags, sleeping pads, and all the things that you would need to go camping. If you're not ready to, if you don't already have those things, we encourage you to check them out from us. Crew life is a little different when you're camping. You don't just show up in the morning and leave in the evening like a normal service position. You arrive on your first day of hitch. We call our camping trips hitches, and you arrive at the warehouse at 7 a.m. We have a warehouse in downtown Colorado Springs, and you meet up with your crew. You load all of your gear, all of your tools, all of your food into a trailer, and together with your crew, you head to the project site. We provide the transportation from our warehouse in Colorado Springs to the project site. You finish your service for the day and you do 1 hour of education, and then you set up camp and cook dinner, and you do it all over again. You camp right next to your project site, or as close as we can get you, and you do that for 4 or 9 days. We have these variety of project lengths, due to different needs for different land managers all over the state. So we have 4-day crews that always work 4 days on and 3 days off. You can kind of see their weekly schedule down at the bottom there. And we also have 9-day crews. 9-day crews camp for 9 days at a time and then have 5 days off. The best way to think about this is that 4 10-hour days is 40 hours, which is a normal service week, or 9 9-hour days is 81 hours. So it's 2 weeks pushed together, and then you have 2 weekends pushed together.
Awesome. So that is us. That is our land conservation program. That is everything we have to offer, and we hope that you're now excited to apply. So how do you do this? We have a link in the chat below, and we also have it on our YouTube description page there. But you can just go directly to our website, milehighyouthcorps.org, and you'll see in the top right corner a spot that says apply now. And don't forget to follow us for updates on future job openings as well. You can see that on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. So when you do apply for us, just a little transparency here on what this looks like. We have a pre-screen process where we'll reach out to you, just ask those questions such as, are you between the ages of 18 and 24? And a few additional ones. And this is a great time and space for you to voice your preference around which crew you're interested in. Don't worry, our person speaking with you will remind you of all your crew options and talk you through any questions you might have. So after that pre-screen, as long as you're eligible, we'll get you through for an interview. And this year we'll be most likely doing those on Zoom. But no worries, if you can't do Zoom, we can coordinate a phone call as well. And so after that interview, if we're ready to make that offer to you, the final step is just making sure we get a background check, drug screen, and fingerprinting. So if at any point you have any questions or concerns about that, Emily and I are always happy to discuss any questions or concerns and work with you on those few things to get you hired on officially. So once those are done and completed, then you're hired on, and welcome to MHYC. So a few last things I'll let Emily touch on is qualities of a successful applicant at MHYC.
Yeah, we want you. We want you to apply. But if this sounds like you, what I'm about to describe, we really, really, really want you to apply. In order to be successful at MHYC, you need to be between the ages of 18 and 24. A lot of people ask about this, and we serve 18 to 24-year-olds first and foremost because we are a youth-serving organization and it's part of our mission. But also because we have funding from AmeriCorps that limits the people that we can serve right now. It is important to provide economic opportunity and career development for 18 to 24-year-olds, and that's part of our mission. If you're able to work as part of a team, then you will thrive at Mile High Youth Corps because we work in a crew structure. That's just how we work. If you're able to step outside your comfort zone and try new things, land conservation is almost always a new thing for everyone in this style of land conservation. So you will certainly experience some new things during your time at MHYC. Strong work ethic, ready for hard physical labor in all weather. If you are ready to carry shovels and rakes and picks up and down a trail all day, then that's great. If you aren't ready, that's still great, because I was not ready when I started Mile High Youth Corps. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and I built up the muscle and stamina needed for this type of work because I found it really fulfilling and worthwhile to put the physical energy into the mission of our work. I just want to note here that nothing on this list says experience. You don't need any experience in this field or any job experience at all, really, in order to join a summer service with us. We want you to come and see what it's all about, and we are happy to teach you the skills that you need to be successful. You just need to be willing to do the work.
Yes, so that is us. So thank you so much, and we will leave some time and space here now for some questions.
Alrighty, so thank you guys for sharing. Our first question, how does Mile High Youth Corps help develop leadership for Corps members?
I think that Mile High Youth Corps helps develop leadership for Corps members because, by putting them outside their comfort zone. Every time you're outside of your comfort zone, you're learning. We try really hard to put you in that challenge zone and not so far that you are in like a panic zone. I've always found in my experience that everyone at Mile High is really supportive and doesn't want to push you to a place that's uncomfortable. it's too uncomfortable, but just wants to push you just a little outside of your comfort zone so that you can learn and grow. Catherine, do you have any thing to add to that?
Yeah, and I think something like really important to highlight there is that we meet you where you're at. So if you come in and you've got a certain level of leadership experience and you're hoping to grow in one direction, we'll help you with that. If this is your first job ever and you're just like hoping to figure out how this works, then we'll meet you where you're at. So a big part of just working with us at Mile High is we see you for who you are, and we want to help you grow in the way you want to grow.
Okay, awesome. So second question, what is the coolest project that you have done during your time with Mile High Youth Corps, done or seen?
I'll start because I am fresh. I've only been here a year, so I haven't gotten to see as much as Emily, who's been around for much longer. But I think the coolest thing I've seen so far actually just happened yesterday and the day before. Our winter fire crew went out and did a prescribed burn of 40 acres just outside of Bailey, Colorado. And they said it went super well. Our crews were on the ground leading the whole thing for the most part, working with some other resources. And the pictures are amazing. So it was really awesome not only to hear folks' experience with it, but to see folks get to do what they're being trained to do right now, which is to do a prescribed burn out there and manage a live fire. So I think that's been my favorite thing so far. Emily, I'll pass it to you.
Hey, it's so hard to choose. I've been here for 3 program years, 3 years, and I have seen a lot of projects, and mainly the things that stick with me are the memories from those places, but some really beautiful open spaces exist down around Canyon City, Colorado, which is south of us, and also kind of northwest of us, near Decos, Colorado. I think I'll shout out that one. We've done quite a bit of work in the South Platte Ranger District on OHV, or off-highway vehicle trails, and that is, I spent quite a bit of time in the South Platte Ranger District working on OHV trails, and it's just gorgeous up there. I love spending time there. And yeah, I have really good memories associated with camping out there for, you know, a week or more at a time, and just being surrounded by the beauty of the Colorado forests.
Nice. Okay, so how would you describe the work environment and like the crew cultures within Mile High?
That's a great question. So I think something that's awesome here is we set our folks up to create that culture for themselves. Of course, we have our values that hold us together as an organization. You know, our core values are that building community, inclusivity, empowerment, integrity, and
strive for excellence. It's always hard to remember all 5. You remember 4, a random 4, and the 5th one it's gone.
So, of course, those hold us together as an organization. But then once you're on your crew, we do something called a crew contract. So with this, you as your crew talk through what matters to you in your environment. So, you know, what kind of space do you need to grow as a person and as a leader, and what kind of support do you need from your fellow crew members? And this is something that we do with every crew that comes in, and it really sets a great tone, and it sets this great line of accountability where you can be like, hey, that's not in line with our crew contract. Like, let's go back to the drawing board and figure out how we can get past this conflict, or how we can work through our challenges. So we give folks the tools to be able to create that environment that feels good, where you are excited to come to work every day, where you are excited to see your crew members. So yeah, I think I'll pass it to Emily to add on any additional bits.
I just think the work environment is pretty inclusive and receptive to you. So the reason I am still here at Mile High is I was listening to what Jesse was saying, and I'm here because of the people. We have a really wonderful community culture around, if you give us feedback or you need something, kind of working with you to figure out what the best next step is. So just the work environment being really receptive to feedback. That's not well worded, but that's the first thing that came to mind.
Okay, so what are your favorite memories of working with Mile High Youth Corps?
Oh, man.
Oh, so hard. Mainly memories that have to do with the people that I'm closest with, and getting over huge challenges. Driving down Forest Service roads that have huge potholes, and barely being able to hold on to your car seats. You know, you're belted in, but it's just really bumpy, or getting lost on the way to projects and overcoming those things. Having really hard projects, like one of my very first projects was a ditch that was an irrigation ditch meant to irrigate a field for wildlife, and digging ditch is not fun. I like to say it's type 2 fun, which is it's not fun during the experience, but it's the sense of accomplishment and the sense of like empowerment that it gives you is fun. And so I was having a lot of type 2 fun at that time, but the crew bonded so hard over those things. We have so many inside jokes about those small, enjoyable challenges, and I guess that's not a specific answer, but it's the challenges that are my favorite memory.
Yeah, I think for me, some of my, like, you know, when I'm talking about when I'm not able to be in the field, my favorite thing is just watching folks like grow and just seeing them come in and have certain goals or have certain things that they know they want to get out of the program, and showing up, giving it their all, and then at the end of their program, being able to go on and pursue something like natural resources that they didn't think they wanted to do. So it's pretty awesome when we get to see folks who like had no idea this was the line of work they were interested in, and then they like leave here being like, this is what I want to do. So I think that's pretty amazing to have those transformative experiences and get to witness that and be a part of that for folks. I think that's always my favorite memory, because you can't forget when people are like, have those moments of like, oh my gosh, my life's changed. So we see that a lot, and I love that.
No, I think that is a pretty cool thing. I had that experience. So what do people typically do after their time at Mile High Youth Corps?
Love it.
That's a hard one. I like to say that the only thing everybody at Mile High Youth Corps kind of mainly has in common is that we don't know what we're doing next. And that's not everyone. There are a few that are like, this is my career path, I'm going to school, you know, they're very focused. But a lot of people come to Mile High Youth Corps because they're just not sure what the best career path is, or education path, or anything. And that's certainly the case for me. I didn't know what my next step was until I came to Mile High Youth Corps, and I found a culture that I really loved, and a mission that I really loved, and spent a lot of time investing in this team. So when people leave Mile High Youth Corps, some of them go into natural resources for sure. A lot of our Corps members have continued into Forest Service positions, or continued into our winter fire crew, which then allows them even more opportunity into Forest Service positions. Definitely we've had people move on to Colorado Springs Parks and Recreation and Cultural Services, which is our local Parks and Rec agency, but a lot of people use their education award to go back to school, and some other people end up other places. We don't know what we're doing next. We're doing this experience because it's a meaningful thing to do, to find out more about yourself, and I love that.
And I think something there too is, no matter which line of work folks go into, there's a lot of the baseline skills that we can give folks. So folks know how to provide and receive feedback. Folks can learn conflict management skills. They can learn and understand group dynamics. And a lot of the soft skills that we teach here are transferable to any job you'll get and help you thrive in any future environment. So.
We have time for one more quick question. What are your favorite meals to make when camping?
Pizza. Oh my gosh. Always, because you make it in the morning. You gotta have yeast. You make it in the morning, and it's kind of cold, and then you like walk around with it in this plastic bag in your coat all day, so it warms up, raises a little, and then you like finish your hike for the day. You get to your spot, and then make a pizza.
Wow, I love that. I'm gonna say stir fry, because like I feel like it's kind of a cop-out answer, because it can be so many different things, but it's like, what meat do we have on hand? What 10 veggies do we have on hand? Put an egg in, or whatever. You can make it vegan, you can make it vegetarian, and it always comes out delicious. One person, my very first crew, taught me to put apples into my stir fry, which is actually delicious, and I just feel like the stir fry reflects the dynamic of the crew in that moment. It's like, this was a really rushed stir fry and all the vegetables are still really crunchy because we were really hungry and we didn't feel like cooking them all the way. Or this stir fry has a ton of sauce on it. I don't know. And I like the differences there. I like seeing them.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for leading this info session. And thank you for taking the time to answer audience questions. Next, we will be showing a PSA video that highlights the various aspects of our land program.
So we're here at the base of Pikes Peak, one of Colorado's most frequented mountains. This is our office. We get the pleasure of coming out here every day and getting to work with our hands and work with each other and build a new trail. And we have about 10 amazing young women on this crew. Mile High has given me a new perspective on the idea of land conservation. It's also given me the opportunity to start my career in natural resources.
Providing access and opportunities to young adults at a critical stage in their lives through the vehicles of service, conservation, education, and self-awareness has a triple impact on our world.
Mile High Youth Corps is an amazing program that offers youth like a second chance. I dropped out of high school. I wasn't doing very well, and I had no idea what I was doing. One day I happened to come across this flyer, and it said that they're offering students to get their GED and to learn a profession. I didn't think that I was ever going to get my GED. I didn't think that I was going to have able to get a career. I didn't think that any of that was possible for me. And this program has provided me with so many opportunities. I'm on set to take my state exam to become a CNA, a certified nurse assistant.
We met these amazing people at Mile High Youth Corps, and we've worked really closely with them to establish a relationship that will allow their health and wellness crew to simultaneously work on their high school equivalency and get a certificate in nurse aid through the state of Colorado. The things that I've noticed about youth coming from Mile High Youth Corps, they're very studious and they work harder than any of the other students I've had.
I was one of the founding board members of Mile High Youth Corps in 1992 when a small group of us led by Josie Heath met for weeks and months about how we could create something in Colorado and in Denver that would enable the young people in our community to demonstrate how much value that they could bring to our community through service if given the opportunity. They were gaining the skills that would serve them in their future, not only for their personal lives, but as leaders in our community, fulfilling their obligations as stewards of our environment.
So what we're building here is low-income apartments for the elderly 55 plus. It's impacted us just knowing that we could help, help them have somewhere to stay, have somewhere affordable to stay. Just having the hands-on experience with the electricians, the plumbers, it's been an all-around great experience, and I think I want to do electrician work,
The truth is, virtually all young adults are trying to figure out who they are, what they're good at, and to build a life forward for themselves. Mile High Youth Corps helps them do just that.
I've been with Mile High Youth Corps since 2016. I started off as a Corps member in 2016. Right now I'm the field technician for the energy and water crew. Something that I've learned here is conservation awareness. I don't think that was available for me, that I'm actually gained a lot of passion for it. We actually just started the solar crew this year in January, and it's something that is pretty exciting for Mile High because it's a new way of conserving energy. Mile High Youth Corps has impacted me by giving me the knowledge and teaching me the importance of conservation and being able to have those conversations confidently.
I was part of the Youth Build program in 2009-2010. Before this, I was messing up. I was running the streets, I was hanging out with the wrong people. I ended up in jail. I heard about the program through my probation officer. That's how I got in contact with Mile High Youth Corps, and they gave me a good opportunity to become someone in life. I've been an electrician for 9 years, and I've been a foreman for 4 years.
What you see here is the Buffalo Creek burn scar. It happened in 1996 and took almost 12,000 acres. And this is a perfect example of what happens when there isn't fire mitigation. I joined the Mile High Youth Corps because I was looking for an opportunity in land conservation. It's more than just fire mitigation. It ensures clean air and clean water and a healthy forest for wildlife, habitat, and all Coloradans to enjoy.
I'm Bridget McGrath, and I invite you to join the Mile High Youth Corps family in creating a triple impact on youth, communities, and the environment.
All right, so we will now be speaking with Claire and CJ about the project side of the work that we do here at Mile High Youth Corps. Welcome, CJ and Claire. Can you both introduce yourselves with your names, pronouns, and roles with Mile High Youth Corps?
Yeah, thanks, Mel, for having us. So my name's Claire Morrissey. I use the pronouns she, her, and hers, and I am the associate manager for the Denver Land Conservation Program. So I'll pass it off to CJ.
Hello, I'm CJ. I also use she, her pronouns, and I'm the associate manager out of our Colorado Springs office, also known as the Southern Front Range.
Great. And what is both of your history with Mile High Youth Corps?
Yeah, we have sort of similar histories, but a sort of offset in time. So I served as what is now known as a land conservation leader, which was part of our 10-month leadership program in 2014, and then returned for another 1,700-hour term of service as the alumni mentor. So sitting in the same seat, pre-Zoom that you sit in, Mel. I then came back as a staff member in 2018 as a project coordinator that sort of evolved into this associate manager position.
Yeah, got a very similar trajectory there. So started as an AmeriCorps Leadership and Conservation Corps member, now known as the Land Conservation Leaders Program, in 2015, where I served as an assistant crew leader for a trail crew in the summer and a saw crew in the fall. And then I returned in 2016 as the alumni mentor, did another 1,700-hour program term, and ended up crew leading that year, two chainsaw crews. And then, yeah, in 2017, I started pursuing careers elsewhere, jobs elsewhere, jobs in natural resources management, and got a job as a park ranger at Roxborough State Park. And then, yeah, staff positioned, the project coordinator position opened up in Colorado Springs. So as a Corps member, I served in Denver, but the staff position opened up in Colorado Springs, and I had to apply. Was just really excited for the opportunity to come back and work for this organization. So yeah, been in this role since 2018, project coordinator, now associate manager.
Nice, thank you. And so what are some of the different kinds of projects that Mile High Youth Corps members serve on?
Yeah, so Emily talked about some of these earlier, but mostly our projects are pretty determined by our partners' needs. For example, we partner with a lot of different land management agencies that Claire's going to talk about in a bit, but most of our projects fall under 4 major buckets. So we've got trails, habitat restoration, fire mitigation, and park development. So for trails, that includes, new trail construction, trail maintenance, installing rock structures, timber structures, really any kind of erosion control features, because water is the enemy of trails. Lots of managing water. And for habitat restoration, that involves things like invasive tree removal, noxious weed removal, pesticide application, native planting and seeding. Fire mitigation, we've got forest thinning, hazardous fuels reduction, and then we also do a lot of fire recovery work and burn scars, so post-fire erosion control and revegetation, and that's a cool one. Park development is like fencing, fence construction, fence maintenance, fence demolition, signage, planting, mulching, historical preservation. So those are the 4 buckets. And then I've got some cool examples of projects that we're doing this year, or maybe they're more of like ongoing projects. So one project that's been going into its 3rd year this year is new trail construction going up Pikes Peak. So on the west side of Pikes Peak, there's an old trail called Devil's Playground. It is super eroded and it was never really designed sustainably. So the trail needs to be rerouted, and we're working on that reroute in partnership with the Rocky Mountain Field Institute. So we're continuing that work this year. And another cool project this year is some folks may have heard of the new state park, Fisher's Peak State Park. We're going to have a saw crew down there for 3 weeks, clearing the corridor for new trail. So very excited for that one. Also, I've got a crew working at the Royal Gorge Park this year. And yeah, I mean, they're all so unique and cool. And that's one of my favorite things about this job. This role specifically is just all of the different projects that we do across Colorado, across the 23 different counties. Yeah, so those are some of the cool projects we're doing this year.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for giving some really awesome examples as well. And so over to Claire, what kinds of agencies does Mile High Youth Corps work with?
Yeah, so all of our projects that we've been speaking about, those all are a result of partnerships with land management agencies of all different sizes across our 23 county geographical footprint. And so the agencies range from, other nonprofit organizations, so maybe conservation districts or historical preservation organizations, to city parks and recs department or city open space management agencies, up to the county level. And then when you get up to the state, there's statewide land management agencies such as Colorado Parks and Rec, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, Colorado Water Conservation Board, and then we have federal partners such as U.S. Fire Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, the Bureau of Land Management. So that's to say that there are so many different avenues for natural resource careers, and the exposure that our Corps members get to working with professionals in the field is really varied. And yes, it speaks to, I think, the breadth of our experience, as well as our really positive record that we have working with so many different agencies.
Yeah, that's great. So what is something that people might find surprising about working at Mile High Youth Corps?
I think there are a lot of things. There's 2 things I'll say. One, I really want to emphasize this idea of folks can be successful in our program without experience. I think you'll hear it time and time again. I am someone who just felt like I was never outdoorsy enough, didn't have enough skills, didn't have a really clear path. And I found the tools that I needed here. And so just really understanding that even if you have a small glimmer of interest and even just a curiosity that followed you to this live stream, continue to follow that and explore that. Because there's really no limit to the opportunities you can find here. And then on the project side, something I think that folks who are especially new to this type of work find surprising is that there's a lot of planning that goes into where a trail goes and where it leads and how it's built. And, you know, when I remember being new to this work and thinking that trails were sort of just made by people wanting to go to a certain destination, but there's a lot of planning and a lot of different stakeholders speak into the design of sustainably built trails. And there is so many different factors that are considered in trail building. So that, I think, catches people off guard if maybe they've hiked trails but never really thought about how they got there. So yeah.
Well, I've also got two things. So something surprising, I think, about serving with Mile High Youth Corps is that although at first glance it might seem like this is just a good job to like get your foot in the door with natural resource management or spend, you know, a fun summer outside, you just get so much more out of it than just that. As a Corps member, I was introduced to and still am introduced to so many new perspectives and new resources and new tools, and just empowered with new ways to make a difference, and feel, you know, totally immersed in my community and what I need to do to show up for my community. And yeah, like along those same lines, you know, we as an organization really prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion work in everything that we do. And yeah, as a Corps member, as an organization, you know, as a staff member, we have important and critical and sometimes challenging conversations and discussions that push us to take action, to be better for each other and for our community and just to grow as humans. So when I was a Corps member, I just, I had no idea that I was also stepping into an organization or, you know, an opportunity to grow in that capacity as well. So I mean, that's really special to me. And something kind of unrelated and more on the projecty side is that I think, especially out of, you know, Colorado Springs, where we do a lot of camping, we don't really promote this as a measurable skill gain, but you will be an expert camper. You will learn how to cook wonderful meals, you know, in the field with like minimal equipment, meal plan for a large group. You'll learn how to set up camp with like minimal impact to the environment. And yeah, just be like a professional camper after you're through with us. So yeah, those are my two things. Also, third thing, you will meet wonderful friends. My best friends I met at Mile High Youth Corps. So those are some surprising things, I think.
Yeah, I 100% agree with both of what you said. And so our last question for me before we move on to some audience questions is, what are some of the encouraging words you have heard about Mile High Youth Corps members from project partners that you believe encompass the work that we do?
Yeah, I'll share a really brief quote. It came from some of our partners from the City of Boulder, Open Space and Mountain Parks. One of their crew leaders said about one of our trail crews, they described kind of at the end of the season saying, this crew jumped into trail building, they dove deeply, and they emerged with an impressive set of skills. And normally the feedback we get from partners is not that poetic, but I really appreciated the way that was framed. That, you know, this is emblematic, I think, of our partners' investment in our Corps members' development as well. And, you know, they also seek to benefit from our Corps members learning new skills and getting on the job training. So, you know, while there are some times where the partners are sort of less involved, it's those projects where the partners really have a hands-on approach to supporting our crews in the field that I think the Corps members get a lot out of it. So I thought that was a great quote, and yeah.
I've also got one less poetic for sure. But this partner shared, I'm always amazed at how much work these folks can do and the willingness of these crews to learn new things. It's always a pleasure to work with Mile High Youth Corps and hopefully inspire another generation of land stewards. So yeah, I mean, I feel like our crews, they step into projects not really knowing, you know, exactly how everything's going to go. They may be learning skills as they're going. And yeah, when you're on a team, you're on the same journey with like 7-8 other individuals learning things together. It's so much fun to do that together. And yeah, like, I don't know, this quote just kind of captured that the crews are willing to learn. They're willing to grow. They want that. They want to learn. And yeah, you know, we hope that we are inspiring the next generation of land stewards to continue this work.
Yeah, those are both great. So I think we only have time for one audience question. So the one I'll ask is, are there any fun or goofy Mile High traditions that you can think of?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot. I guess, I don't know. We do a lot of like team builders and games that are super fun. And if you're really competitive like me, they are, yeah, like I said, a lot of fun. I don't know. I think, yeah, just you'll kind of have traditions that I think you'll form with your crew, inside jokes that will form. So like I feel like I have things to share, but maybe they just wouldn't make sense because they're kind of inside jokes. Claire, what do you got?
Well, to my left here is the trophy that crews compete for most summers at the end of the season during the Summer Olympics. So that's a opportunity for crews across all programs to compete in field games, etc. So those are just, yeah, some of the things that, you know, I think separate this opportunity from your typical job. There's a lot of opportunity to be like silly, be yourself, get to know people outside of your crew. Though I would definitely echo with CJ, you know, crews become sort of their own ecosystems and they produce traditions and jokes that from the outside probably don't make any sense, but like are part of the things that make sometimes really challenging and monotonous work just fly by because, yeah, there's a welcoming element to kind of every crew. That I think our leaders are really intentional about.
Yeah, I could definitely speak to that as well. Well, thank you both for your time in answering all these questions. And then also, I just want to remind everyone that if you're interested in applying, that the link is in the description of the event and will be in the chat soon. And so now we'll look at a brief 5-minute video clip that will show some pictures from Corps members of the past. All right, so now we will be talking with two alumni who served with Mile High Youth Corps in the past. Thank you both for being here. And can you both introduce yourselves with your name, pronouns, when you served with Mile High Youth Corps, and what role you were in?
Sure. My name is Amanda Christine. My pronouns are she and her, and I served as an ACLC, which I don't think exists anymore, but I believe that stands for AmeriCorps Conservation and Leadership Corps member or something close to that, and that was in 2014.
My name is Jorge Lomas. I served in 2013 in the Land Conservation Program. I also did the Fall Forestry that same year. In 2014, I did an overnight camping crew, and we stayed at lodging in Boulder, and that was with the trail crew. And then in 2015, I did a term as a crew lead for one of the SAW crews for the summer service. And I'm sorry, my pronouns are he, him, his. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So what was your favorite part of your service with Mile High Youth Corps?
I think it was exposing me to sort of the outdoors, because I think I grew up in more about urban setting. So being able to experience all these places that I guess I normally wouldn't have gone to. And it really introduced me to how many stakeholders there are when it comes to projects and doing land conservation. And eventually it kind of, I guess, opened doors for me.
Well, I would definitely echo everything that Jorge said. I learned so much about like the contracting process of how that all works with stakeholders. I saw so many amazing places here in Colorado that I just like didn't know existed. You know, you hear about some like major tourist destinations, but some of these like hidden gems were really made accessible from working with Mile High Youth Corps, especially like even places that are open to the public. We got to go into places that like are like off limits, which is really neat to see. And then just like community, I met so many amazing people. I met Jorge during my time of service, which is amazing. And yeah, just like love the community.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of that. So can you think of something you learned at Mile High Youth Corps that informed your future goals or decisions?
Sure. I think the biggest thing for me is that it's really important to find and work with a community that you really admire and respect and get along well with, a community that you share the same values with. That, I mean, it's like fundamental, core, base level important, like all else kind of functions well or doesn't function, you know, from there. And just to like see how seamless like a community with so many different moving parts like Mile High Youth Corps has, how seamless it can work is, that was huge. And that just kind of like activated different, you know, parts of my mind of like, okay, like just with like organization and planning, and it really has had a positive effect on me.
I would say for me, it was that I enjoy teamwork, and I enjoy sort of manual labor, I guess, and having a prescribed set of instructions and kind of structure just in general. And I think at the time, it might have been one of the hardest jobs that I worked, you know, because it was so different from what I had done before. So I think it really just allowed me to push myself more than anything, and anything that I do, and try things at least once before you make an opinion on it.
Yeah, that's really great to hear from both of you. So what advice do you have for brand new Corps members in the land program?
I think definitely try it out and stick with it. I think the first week is challenging because it's a completely new environment, and I think a lot of the people that do participate are coming to Denver for the first time. You know, like they're from out of state, so it's a completely different environment. You kind of get thrown out there in a way, especially if you're not too familiar with the outdoors. But I think that's what makes it such a unique program, is the opportunity you have to do this. I mean, it might sound a little selfish, right? But you're getting so much out of it, and at the same time you're contributing. But just the amount of growth that you go through is invaluable.
I mean, I completely agree. And this would, yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing. I would say go for it. Trust yourself that you can do it, even if like maybe after the first day your muscles are a little bit sore. Like, it's gonna get easier, and it gets so much more fun. Like, the more you build relationships, the more outdoor time you get to spend, the more you see, like the more wildlife like spottings you see, just like all of these little beautiful bits of the job like come together. And then, you know, for me, when I got to the end of it, I was like, wow, that was a really amazing experience. So I'd 100% say give it a chance, stick with it, like Jorge said, and just like soak it in, really be there and have fun, because it is fun, I think.
I 100% agree. So what was something unexpected that you learned about yourself when serving with Mile High Youth Corps?
Kind of going off of the last question and answer, I'd say I'm stronger than I think, both physically, mentally, emotionally, but especially like physically, it really taught me like, okay, like I can use all these tools. And I mean, 2014, I've grown a lot since then, and at that time it was my first time working in an outdoor setting, and it was just nice to see like what my body can do, what my mind can do. So that was really neat for me.
I'm sorry, Mel, can you repeat the question real quick?
Yeah, of course. So the question was, what was something unexpected that you learned about yourself while serving with Mile High Youth Corps?
A couple of things. I think definitely up to that point, I guess I wasn't really pushed that hard, to be honest with you. I think I kind of lived a more comfortable life than I admit that I did. So being completely out of my comfort zone, I think because of what I did, you know, with the chainsaw, I mean, that I gained like a completely new skill, because I had no intention to ever running a chainsaw. It's such a random thing. I think it just allowed me to really develop a good, strong work ethic. And it's something that thankfully I've been able to, you know, use in any position that I've had so far. So I think it's a combination of so many things. And the people as well, you know, just the connections you make are unique. They really are. But I think that's about it that I can think of right now.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And so what is one of the funniest memory you have of your time with Mile High Youth Corps?
I think it was during the first year that I served, and I remember we were serving at a local park, just doing Russian olive removal, and I think it was towards the end of the day, and the crew lead lost the keys, you know, and so he just told us to randomly start walking around, you know, and we just didn't know why. And just it was absurd because we were all tired and wanted to go home, but you know, it's a human error. But it was just, I guess it's funny now, you know, because he was so concerned and so stressed out, and I understand, you know, doing the crew lead, I understood how he felt, you know, doing it. But it's just stuff like that where you kind of have human emotion at the time, and you're very invested in stuff, but then you can laugh at it later, thankfully, you know.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys made it back eventually. That's good. And for me, it's not one specific memory. It's kind of just like this amalgamation of just like inside jokes and just like, I don't know, weird random things that just like make you crack up. I can definitely relate to that feeling of like everybody kind of being like that, like so tired, but feeling so good. It's almost like you're like weirdly drunk in a way, you know, while you're completely sober. It's just like, and then everything's funny. We had like a lot of days like that where like we'd get in the van to go back to headquarters at the end of the day and just like laughing the entire time because like, I don't know why, but like it was that perfect combination of just everything was funny and that was just so fun. And it happened frequently.
Yeah, I definitely had some of those experiences on my cruise as well. So our next question is, do you have a favorite project that you served on and why was it your favorite?
I think for me, working at Tennessee was probably my favorite because we got to build a whole trail there, like, and a trail that I've gone back and walked on since. And to me, that one, it is an extremely beautiful place. There's there are bison that live there, like in a different area. So every day we drive in, and it's just like mountains and forests, and then there's bison that we get to see, which is super cool. And being able to like contribute a trail to like the Colorado environment is really special to me.
I think it might have been, I mean, there was a lot of them, but I think it was during the fall forestry, and we were doing some work with, some of us were able to do some herbicide training for noxious weeds. And some of us got to work with the Bureau of Land Management in some land by the airport. And it was just three of us. And we had these sort of like hazmat suits and a pack, for a spray pack. And it was just, I don't know, it was just something very serene about it. And it just gave me a lot of time to reflect. And again, it was something that I had never done before. So it was just, it was like a big deal for me. It just felt like it was, something that I'm going to remember. And I did till now, nearly almost 8 years ago. So that's what I remember as being my favorite.
Yeah, well, thank you both so much. It's about time to wrap up, but I just want to tell you how much we appreciate you coming today. And I think it's so powerful for people who are coming in, or even people like me still serving, to hear from alumni about your experience and how it's stayed with you this long. So next we'll be talking to two. Oh yeah, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. But next we'll be going back into that slideshow that will have some more of those pictures of previous Corps members.
Alrighty, and we are back. Now we will hear from a couple of our future crew leaders for the upcoming year. So Alex and Katie can turn on your cameras now. Alrighty, hello and welcome. So if you want to introduce yourself, name, pronouns, all that.
Hi everyone, my name is Katie and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
My name is Alex. My pronouns are also she, her, and hers.
All right, well, thank you again for joining us. So what made you choose Mile High Youth Corps?
So for me, I personally had a personal interest because last year when I first was interested in joining Mile High, I was just graduating school. I got a degree specialized in wildlife conservation, and I knew I wanted to go into it. I was interested in participating in AmeriCorps programs because I knew that they were a great stepping stone to continuing my in my field. And also I knew I wanted to gain a whole bunch of skills really fast, and I know I needed to do that. So when I found Mile High, I absolutely loved every single thing I saw. It was all land conservation projects, which is exactly my thing. It was a nonprofit, which I love working with nonprofits and have had amazing success with them in the past. And I was really looking for something where I could serve in my community. I didn't think it was going to be my home community, but it ended up being that. And I was really excited about that. And also, with this program specifically, you get to gain amazing skills personally, professionally, really fast in one season. And you also get the AmeriCorps benefits, which is awesome. So Mile High was every single thing I was looking for when I joined.
So, and Alex, what made you choose Mile High Youth Corps?
I mean, honestly, very different from Katie's. I didn't even know about land conservation, really. I had planned on going to Romania to help like underprivileged kids. I was going to do that for 2 months, and then COVID happened. And so I couldn't do that. And it was basically like, okay, I don't want like a normal like 9-to-5 job. I'm done serving. Like I still want to do something to like help people and stuff. And I signed up for Mile High, and it was like, all right, I can do anything for like a couple months. Like, I don't know if I'll hate it or love it or whatever, but I had an amazing time and just learned a lot, grew a lot as a person, and then just really like loved the program and what it had to offer.
Okay, so what about land conservation like interests you both?
For me, I love the fact that I'm like giving back to my community, and I feel like I'm directly making a difference. Which I really love about land conservation, and specifically about the projects we get to do as Corps members and crew leads, which is really awesome. And it's very hard work, but it's extremely rewarding, which I think is really awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree with Katie. Like, I appreciate like working like hard, like that it just feels good. Also like, just being able to like be outside, like that just makes such a difference just in a work environment. Like it's insane. And just being able to like appreciate your environment that much more, and like learning about your environment and other people's environment and how you can impact it just in different ways.
Okay, nice. So what made you want to come back to Mile High Youth Corps as a crew leader?
So for me, I started out with Mile High with the Summer of Service, and I loved it so much and grew so much as a person and also professionally that I chose to continue through the fall forestry season. And I love that so much that I wanted to learn about fire conservation and fire mitigation and all of that. So I was able to train with the Winter Fire crew in November, December. And and also, so I grew so much as a person, being a Corps member, that I wanted to come back and join the Land Conservation Leadership Program, because I knew that I still had so much to learn about myself. And I knew this would be also a great stepping stone to learn about what it's like to be a leader and especially in conservation. And this is just a good step for me to take for my future career. So yeah, and also the LCL Land Conservation Leadership Program offered through Mile High is an amazing supportive program to help develop you into a leader. So I just wanted a program that was going to provide me the same supportive resources, but help me develop into a leader for my future career. So yeah.
Yeah, personally, like, yeah, I really enjoyed my time at Mile High. We were on a pesticide crew, and I just wanted to do more than that. Like, I wanted to see what else they had to provide. And also, our leaders were just like, they were super helpful in just like communication, and they did so much for that. And I wanted to be able to do that for other people, because, some people like, really struggle with that. And I know that's like kind of a strength of mine. And I wanted to be able to like encourage others to kind of come out of their shell and be able to do things that they didn't think they could do, and just appreciate things that they never really even thought about, I guess, towards nature and everything.
Okay, so what are you all most excited about for the upcoming season?
I'm just excited to be back in the office. I'm really excited to just be back with everybody. I've missed them so much, and it's so great just being in that environment again. And also, I'm really looking forward to meeting my new core members and just making new friendships and relationships. And also, yeah, just being back outside, working outside. Summer is going to be so beautiful, and I'm just really excited to just like be back out there, getting my hands dirty, and yeah, continue making a difference in my home community.
Yeah, definitely super stoked to be back outside. I'm currently working in an office and losing my mind. It's all good. But yeah, I mean, meeting new people have so many different ways of communication and like so many walks of life. And I love that. And it's so cool to be able to like bond with them in different ways. And then, yeah, just learning new skills, being in new environments, and like being able to form like a team, like it's going to be good.
Okay, so last question. What is one thing that you would want core members to know?
I would say you just got to be open. You just got to kind of roll with the punches. Like I said, I really went into that job saying, I can do anything for 2 months, so it's kind of like, I didn't come in with a lot of expectations, which was cool because like everything was awesome, but just like be ready to be open. You got to be open and ready to learn and ready to be challenged and be excited about that, because that's how growth works, and it's going to be good.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, but something else to add is, if you're going to be a new core member coming into this next season, try not to come into it scared and think that you need to know everything before you start.
Yeah.
Everybody comes into this program not really knowing a lot. Some people have a lot of experience, some people have no experience, and everybody is trained. Everybody is supported through the entire thing. And you get to know exactly what you need to know to be successful, which is really awesome. And you help each other grow through the process as well, which is really cool. So yeah, be open and try not to be too scared, because you'll learn exactly what you need to have a great time and enjoy your time here.
Hey, well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on here and tell us about your experiences and what you're looking forward to this year. We are going to wrap up this section, so see you guys later. I'm so excited to work with y'all again.
All right, awesome.
Thank you
guys. Yeah.
And yeah, so Mel will be coming back in just a moment. We are going to wrap up this section and move to our final Q&A of the evening. If you have any questions for us to answer, go ahead and put them in the chat now. Also, if you are interested in applying, go to our website, milehighyouthcorps.org. All that's in the comments. How you doing, Mel?
Doing well. Doing well.
Home stretch. Okay, so somebody told us to explain our positions as alumni mentors. I'll go first. Sometimes I still don't know. No, I think it's a really good opportunity to bridge the gap between core members and staff. We are still serving like terms, so we're staff, but we're kind of not. But I think it's really cool to be able to provide that support that core members need without feeling like they can't come to us because we're like supervisors and like big, scary people.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think just like being that mentorship for core members coming in as both of us have gone through the program in varying aspects and on different crews and kind of experienced different project sites and project partners. So I think that's why we're here, is just to be that mentor for core members, which is something that I really care about. And I like, my favorite part of the job is just meeting so many new people.
Okay, so what is one thing that we wish we knew before our time as core members? For me, it was mostly just, well, my situation coming on as a core member was very interesting. I came on in the middle of a season, got hired very quickly. So I really had no idea like what I was getting into besides the fact that I would be working in land conservation. I didn't know that we wouldn't need any sort of experience. So I was kind of nervous that I would come in and not do a good job, but I wish that I would have known that, but I feel like most people know that coming on now. But yeah, just like no experience at all is needed. You will get trained in literally every single thing that you need to know.
Yeah, I think for me, it was kind of similar to what Alex had said earlier, was that I knew I wanted to do something. It was the pandemic had started and we were in quarantine. And so I was like, I would love to get a job outside, and this was perfect because it was only a certain amount of time. And so it was like, I thought it was going to be a stepping stone, but then absolutely fell in love with the work that we do here at Mile High and just stuck with it because I love the people, love the work we're doing. So I think just something I wish I'd known was how much I was going to like it. But I think that everyone will know that once they get started. And then it looks like the next question we have is, what are we looking forward to in the next coming months?
Oh, goodness. I think working with people again, even with social distancing, masks, all that stuff. I think working just with people that I know, people that I'm going to know. I think that's what I'm most excited for.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think one of the things I'm really excited for is to get back outside. I think like preparing for the season has been really fun and really exciting. Definitely it's like building up, but I feel like the season is going to be the highlight of this year, and being able to go in the field with crews and see and meet so many different people, like you said, I think is definitely what I'm looking forward to most.
Okay, so what is one of your favorite crew traditions that you've been a part of? I feel like it's a little different this year because there's not like that many traditions, because we come to the warehouse and go home because of COVID. I don't know, Mel, do you have any?
Yeah, the one that immediately comes to mind is that there's a tire place down the street that we always have to get our vehicles served at, called Les Schwab. But my crew had made a point of saying Les Schwab in a French accent every time we had to go there. And then even when we didn't have to go there, we would end up saying it. And it just became this, like, exactly like how everyone's been saying throughout the night, but just one of those inside jokes that you create with your crew that still, like, I'll think about and just start cracking up, which is, it's not funny, but it just makes me laugh.
Yeah, I think ours, I don't know, would probably be going just to the gas station in the morning before hitch, because we would all just get coffee, we'd get amped up, ready to go. And I mean, obviously we couldn't do that every single morning of hitch, but like the first day where we come into the warehouse and go out, I think was like the highlight of our morning.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what is one thing Mile High Youth Corps has given you that you will bring with you into your next job?
I think lots. lots of stuff. I'm learning a lot now as an alumni mentor, but I mean, even in my last 2 seasons, I learned so much. And it's not even just about land conservation. Like communication is top priority for me. And that's what I learned about myself and something that I can bring into my next job.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think something that I've learned really well is, and like continue to learn in this role, is just being able to communicate within an organization. It's like, for me, I've always been pretty good at communicating with friends and family, but communicating with people who, my supervisors and people who I'm leading is something that like I hadn't had a ton of experience in. And now I feel like I have like a swath of experience that I can look to, and I'll definitely bring with me to my next job.
And I think CJ might have said this earlier. I don't remember who it was, but somebody was telling us about how like all the experience you gain working with Mile High, like you will take into your next job, no matter what. Like there's something that everybody can learn and something that everybody can take with them. So can you describe a typical day of a Corps member?
Yeah, I can do Denver, because I know Denver and Colorado Springs are a bit different. But here in Denver, what will happen is, as a Corps member, you'll come to our headquarters, which is on Federal and 18th, and you'll meet your crew in the morning. You'll do a health screen for COVID, and then you'll get your project vital, which is basically the document that tells you what your project is. You'll collect all your tools for the project and head out, and then you'll get to the project site, meet up with your project partner, who is the one kind of on the agency side. So either Colorado Parks and Wildlife, National Park Service. They'll help you decide what you're going to be doing for the day. You'll do the work there, and then you'll come back to headquarters and do what we call D-rig, which is cleaning up the tools, sharpening, taking care of anything that you need to take care of at the end of the day, and then you'll head home.
Nice. It's sort of similar, just a lot more spread out for us. So in Southern Front Range, we do hitches. So as Emily explained earlier, it's like a little camping trip, either 4 or 9 days. I've only been on 4-day hitches, so I can only speak on those, but it's pretty much the same process. You come in on your first day of your hitch at 7 a.m. to the warehouse. And right now, because of COVID, you do your COVID like medical form. So that's how we've been keeping up on that. And then we put everything into the trailer, into the vans, we get loaded up. And that takes maybe 30 minutes. Like once the crew kind of gets into the groove, it becomes really, really easy. Stop for gas, and then we drive however long it takes us to our project site. So we actually don't set up tents or anything until like the end of the night after the work day. Just that way we maximize our work time. And so, yeah, then after the work day's over, we cook, clean, eat, go to bed, wake up the next morning, depending on the crew. Some people like a hot breakfast, so they'll wake up a little earlier. And do the same thing over and over again until the last day of your hitch, where we come back, de-rig, have a debrief of the week, say bye, and peace out for the next 2 or 3 days. So it's a little different, but still pretty similar.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we're about finished up. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. I also want to thank everyone who's either applied or is planning on applying. Mile High Youth Corps has done so much for me, and I know it will for you as well if you end up joining us. And I also just wanted to thank everyone who joined us for our sessions and panels today. We truly appreciate all the insight that you brought.
All right, well, thank you and have a good evening.